Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dayna Faye, and I am so excited to have Nicole Doyle on today to give us a breakdown of the astrology transits for 2026. What can we expect? And I think we're going to dive into a little bit of a review of 2025 because how is it the end of the year already? Like, it has been a wild year. I know for me, it's felt like a stripping away. And for many other people, maybe some shocks and surprises, or maybe, 5 steps forward or 2 steps forward, 5 steps back kind of a thing. So we're going to review 2025. We're going to jump into 2026 and find out from Nicole what we can expect. So, Nicole, thank you so much for having this conversation today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I remember, preparing for this and looking at the year ahead and just feeling like, okay, if we thought 2025 was about to be this like debut, like breakout year, yeah, it was in a way. But just like TV shows get maybe a pilot season and then like 3/4 of them get axed and like thrown away and never see the light of day. That was 2025 for us. Like we had the preview of a lot of things and a lot of the ideas and things that we maybe thought were going to happen are just little seedlings and they're meant to grow bigger in 2026. Or maybe you decide, hey, you know what? I'm no longer growing tomatoes, let's just say, and you pull them out and you move on to something else. Like that is what 2026 is starting to feel like. And I'm excited for what's to come because we had one heck of a year in 2025 astrologically. Every single outer planet, with the exception of Pluto, changed signs in 2025. That's mega. Those are big deals.
And not to mention that didn't Pluto change signs in 2024? So it wasn't even that
Yes.
long ago. I mean, we're still adjusting to Pluto in Aquarius, which is pretty wild.
Barely. Yeah, barely adjusting because it happened in November 19th, 2024. So yes, everything moved in 2025, but like right on the heels, Pluto was doing its thing. So Pluto like set the stage. It was like, don't worry guys, I'll go first. And then it, moved into Aquarius for good. We'd seen that preview for about a year prior and all the other planets were like, okay, now here's my audition. Like I'm getting ready. And 2026, we see all of those planets. So that includes Pluto will stay in Aquarius. We've got Neptune will be in Aries. We've got Uranus in Gemini, and we've got Saturn also in Aries. And Jupiter moves signs every year. We'll also see in 2026 that Jupiter will move in June from Cancer to Leo. So big year on the horizon, but these are permanent movings versus just, little preview seasons, as sometimes happens because these outer planets move so slow. They move forward and then they retrograde back for a bit of time, and they retrograde all the time. It's not like Mercury where we're like, oh no, everything's different, so we're experiencing this shift right now of like the planets are creeping back. Like we're right now at the end of 2025 and Neptune and Saturn are both back in Pisces for their final time, in a very long time. Saturn obviously is on a 30-year cycle. Neptune is on a way longer, 184 years. So we'll never see Neptune and Pisces again. Good riddance. See you later.
Seriously, thank God. Wait, do you know how long Neptune has been in Pisces?
13 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Saturn kind of joined it at the same time, which doesn't always happen.
Right. Saturn
Oh,
entered Pisces about 2.5 years ago. Like it's on a 2.5
okay.
year,
Oh,
two-ish year
yeah.
schedule. So it's moving around the whole zodiac every 28 to 30 years. So you're experiencing that time frame, that difference, in signs. That's happening all the time. And now when we see these planets move into Aries, not only are we starting a whole new story because it's Aries, but like this is a whole new book. Like forget the new chapter. Like this is a whole new book because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So
Mm.
not only do we have them coming together in Aries, which they did earlier in 2025, we experienced that little preview over the summer for a bit of time before they moved into retrograde motion, but they're going to come together in February. I'll give you the exact date. February 20th, 2026. They will be exactly conjunct, not just at 0 degrees, but 0 degrees and whatever minutes that they will be conjunct. And that is like very unique because sometimes they can be conjunct at the same degree, but not the same minute. And so when we have that exact conjunction, it is a big deal. The last time this happened was in 1989.
Hold on. They're at the exact same minute, even?
Yes.
Whoa.
That's why it's such a big deal, because
At
it's like,
0 degrees of Aries.
and that is the beginning of the zodiac, like the moment it all began. You know what I mean? So like this is like we've never lived through this. Like astrologers, very reputable ones, way better like at looking back at charts into the beginning of time than me, have looked back and they've gone back 6,000 years and they cannot find the last time that this ever happened at 0 degrees Aries.
So we don't really have a history to say, okay, this is what happened last time. This is what maybe might happen this time. What do
Exactly.
you think this means? What do you think is going to happen for us?
I don't know. I mean, it's like really hard to predict that kind of stuff, right? Like I
Yeah.
wish I could just say like, "Oh, it's going to birth a whole new world." Like and it feels so like exciting and happy. And yes, I want to keep that hope alive because a lot of people have looked back at major points where Neptune and Saturn were conjunct and it reshaped dynasties, it reshaped wars, it reshaped revolutions, which is also very Uranus and Gemini. It's also Pluto and Aquarius themed, right? But never before have we had this exact lineup of where they all are and how they're interacting with each other. So planets make
Mm,
aspects to one another. And this time around, these planets happen to be making very happy aspects to each other. They're making sextiles and trines, which are very harmonious flow of energy. So it's like, what can we expect from this? Like, I mean, I was born under an exact conjunction within a few minutes. There was an exact conjunction 2 days later, minute for minute, when Neptune and Saturn met up in Capricorn. And they also met up very closely with Uranus at some point. So it was just like a wild time. I also have Venus in there. So it's just like, whew, everything's
whoa.
together right there. It's like, whew, okay, why did I pick Venus in Capricorn? We'll never know. But, one day that secret will be revealed. But in 1989, in November, that was the picture that was happening. At the same time that I was born, my husband was also born under this transit. We just realized our daughter was born under this transit earlier in 2025 where Neptune and Saturn are conjunct. I know we just share this, and it's like this mystical realist kind of thing because Neptune's very much have the faith in what could happen, and Saturn's like, yeah, but you have to show up and make it work on Earth, like that kind of vibe. And so we're
Yeah.
going to have this like moment, I hope, where we can see like the birth of a new way of life, a new way of creation of life, of all these things. I really feel like that could be the thing, but we have to make it work here. And that's why Saturn has showed up to say, like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Like, we still live in a very 3D Earth. How can we make this new mystical reality work for all of us? And I think that's really powerful.
That's really needed. I know I need that for my personal life. So I'm excited that Saturn is showing up for that, or else I would be way too in the clouds with
Right.
Cancer in my 12th house. So for people who are not familiar, can you just break down kind of what the sign of Aries means and then what
Yes.
Saturn and Pluto mean, just so we can like break those down and then put them back together?
Absolutely. So, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And so, what that means is the initiatory warrior, the beginning, the fool, if you will, the young child like planet. But Aries energy is cardinal fire, meaning right off the gate, it is powerful, it is initiatory, it is, ruled by Mars, which is action, devotion, desire, all of these things wrapped into one. And so, you can think that this Aries energy, like one, it just sweeps right in. It's like the first one to go and raise their hand and they're like 15 steps ahead of everyone. They're like, go, 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 but that childlike wonder that Aries brings can often be a bit, I don't want to say it's like not responsible, but they're not really thinking of all the other pieces. They're just like, let's go, let's do this thing. But that warrior energy is so needed sometimes to be like, I'm the one who's going to stand up and say, this isn't right. Or like, I'm going to be the fighter and I'm going to make the thing right. So we've got Aries, this really important beginning of the zodiac. It's initiating everything with fire, with that brand new energy, right? Then we have Saturn. Saturn is the cosmic personal trainer. Okay. So Saturn's like, oh, you thought 10 pounds was good? Well, like, why don't you try 12 and a half? Like, why don't you add a few more reps in? It's just kind of saying, hey, if you stay stuck in Saturn, which is the planet itself, you are not being asked to expand into those outer rings. Saturn wants us to show up in devotion, wants us to show up with purpose and actually do the things that we say we want to do. And so it's pushing us. And if we just stayed in our comfort zone, which would maybe be Saturn, the planet, versus moving to the outer rings, we'd never feel that expansion. Sometimes expansion is painful. We both have children, so we understand
Mhm.
expansion can be painful and it can be beautiful at the same time. So we're expanding to welcome in something new. So Saturn's asking us always to expand. It's all about that devotion and working hard and actually doing the hard thing. A lot of people know Saturn from their Saturn return. And that's often a really rough time for a lot of people because it's putting out a lot of information in your life that you've gone through the past 28 years and saying, did you get the lessons? If not, now's the time. So Saturn is really here to give us those lessons. It also kind of manages time and is saying like, what does time look like for you? Do you have enough time? I think that a lot of people don't recognize the timing aspect of Saturn. So it's kind of saying like, do you have enough time? Are you rushing? Is it taking too long? All of those kind of narratives. Then to add into that equation, we have Neptune. So Neptune's saying, okay, you're walking on the beach, it's super foggy. You know the Ferris wheel's down the beach, okay? You know it's down there, but you cannot see it. But you really want to go ride the Ferris wheel. Can you trust that each step you take, one foot in front of the other, it's going to reveal more and more through the fog? Neptune's asking
Mm.
for some version of delusional faith, but also a higher level of faith. I think that Neptune's also a higher octave of Venus in a way of like that unconditional love. And, you know, when things are not going your way, are you still going to show up for them with the faith that it can be done or the faith that it will happen for you? So to put all those together, Aries, warrior energy, Saturn, lessons, devotion. Are you going to show up and make this happen? Neptune, faith in what can actually be, and really just having this, you know, unabashed confidence in yourself in that way. But it's really like spiritual. You know, Neptune is very spiritual in nature. And so
Yeah.
if you put Neptune and Saturn together, it's kind of like the cynic and the mystic coming together. And it's like, it can be magical because it's making sure you don't get lost and completely disassociate from what's real. Saturn's keeping us down to earth. So we have that power for 2.5 years. Better use it.
That is seriously so exciting. And would you say that it's important for everyone listening that they find out what house 0 degrees of Aries is in so that they can kind of see the theme of what's happening for them?
Absolutely. And so while we're talking about this, this is a collective transit. Everyone in the world is experiencing these energies at this time. But for you, if you want to see where could I expect this energy to impact me personally, it is looking at that house because each of the 12 houses kind of shows you where in your life you're going to experience that. So for me, 0 degrees of Aries is in my 5th house. So that is creative expression. That's fun. Children, like all of these really cool things. I also have my moon in the 5th house, but it's in a later degree in Aries. So I'm not necessarily experiencing that conjunction at all, like on my moon, which is kind of good. I feel like it would just be so much. But you know, it also rules like dating and sex and all of that. So it's a really cool, I mean, I'm very happily married like for a long time. So I think I'll see this more in the creative expression side of things, but it is kind of asking like myself, I'm saying, well, in business, what am I looking to create and what patterns do I have to let go to really take advantage of what the cosmos, the universe is asking of me right this moment?
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I love that for you in the 5th house. Okay, give me my 9th house and then we can move on.
Yeah, so the 9th house is so interesting because you're going to be looking for some elevated experience, whether it's like, you know, retreats or looking at a higher power, learning on a higher level, like really like mastery of some sort, possibly finding a teacher, you know, that really is helpful for you. I don't know, maybe you found a teacher that felt really aligned to you earlier in summer 2025, like that relationship will continue. You're experiencing, can I have faith in like what I'm learning? Can I find a higher purpose in everything that I'm doing, which is very Neptune, you know what I mean? But in the you know,
Mhm.
in the 9th house, you may also be interested in some longer term travel, like some longer distance travel, like culturally. But if that's not on the table, like that, those are just general 9th house themes. But looking at these big planets, they're going to be there for a long time. So especially with Neptune in the 9th house for the next like 13 years is going to be asking you to really master what you're learning and keeping the faith in what you're learning. But also Saturn being there for the next 2.5 is going to say, hey, but like, don't get too carried away. Like, this isn't like the complete only way to do things. You know, you've got to stay up, you got to be devoted, you know, don't sign up for 18 classes and then not take them. Don't sign up for a retreat in Peru and then, you know, one in Spain and then go to Egypt. You know, it's kind of like keeping you grounded in that way, but it's going to feel initiatory. It's going to feel really exciting.
Ooh, I am so ready for that. That is exciting. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we've got that on February 20th, where it's the Great Conjunction. You guys are going to be hearing this everywhere. I mean, it's
Everywhere.
like the absolute Olympic Super Bowl of astrology. Like we are all just so excited for it. And then when are these fun aspects that you were talking about, like Uranus and at 0 degrees of Gemini? Like when does Uranus move back to that?
So it did on July 7th of 2025. It moved into Gemini for the first time and then it was there for a bit, but Uranus changes signs like every 7 years and it's been unfortunately so unhappy in a Taurus. Like Uranus likes to shake things up. A Taurus is like, keep it steady, keep it cool, everything's fine, very stubborn. And Uranus is like rattling the cage, like, no, so it's moving into Gemini, where it's going to be a lot happier for good on April 25th, 2026. So a few months in, we're experiencing that final push of Uranus in Taurus forever. Not forever, sorry. Well,
For our
in
lives,
our lifetimes,
our
yeah. I was like,
lifetime,
in our
yeah.
lifetime, yeah, it's forever, but not forever, we'll be back again, I'm sure, in some other way, but it'll be there for a while. And so this is a revolutionary planet. Uranus wants to revolutionize, it wants to liberate, it wants to shake things up. It just brings a different flavor. And so with that in Gemini, we're going to see the way that we communicate change. We might have already seen some of that change. It's going to be a lot of technology advancements. I think we're going to just see a lot of things moving really fast, shaking up. And it's kind of like, if you think about when the iPhone came out and people were like, that's so weird, like da da da, like we need to be kind of early adopters of these things, or at least open-minded, especially if we want to keep up with what's coming, because I've seen plenty of futurists talk about an exponential curve, right? Where it's like we used to go really slow and then things would exponentially change. Well, like we're here on the exponential curve. It's always going up, 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 almost like doubling, tripling, math, up and up and up, versus like we don't really have a slow lead in anymore. Like we are in the time of the exponential rise of everything. So Uranus and Gemini just screams that for like the news, technology, how we communicate, short-term travel, all of these things. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It's all very mind, material, information based. And so we can look at that and say, okay, next 7 years is going to get crazy. I also have said before, I think Uranus and Gemini is going to help a lot of people realize like the consciousness of other things, like potentially telepathy coming online for a lot of people. I mean, we know it exists. We know, okay, like Dayna and I know it exists. Maybe if
we
you're
know it
listening to this
exists.
YouTube channel, it exists too. I think more normies are going to be like, oh my God, I read your mind. Like, yeah, duh. Like we're doing this for, forever, but it's going to become a little bit more, I think, socially accepted. My opinion, hot take. We'll see. Come back in 6 years and let me know.
I love that take, because when you were talking about the technology stuff, it makes me nervous. Like I'm a little fearful, like, okay, we're already so digitally plugged in. And I remember when Jupiter went through Gemini, it felt like that's when AI really came onto the scene. And like Google even named their AI Gemini. Like that was bizarre. I'm like, do you have an astrologer working for you? Or like, I don't know.
Absolutely, they probably do.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I'm just like really nervous about the technology thing, because I don't want to lose my own technology, like the ability to be telepathic or channel or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there has to be a balance that we find. And I feel like this is where certain aspects of Saturn and Aries are going to come online that maybe bring like the opposite effect. Like Saturn being very disciplined and Aries being like warrior running off to battle, like they don't always jive. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's going to bring up some of that like anger and frustration that we can feel, and like frustration around these technologies specifically. However, we were talking about this in the beginning, is that like where, with Uranus and Gemini, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and then we have Pluto in Aquarius, like forming these aspects that are actually harmonious. And so maybe it will help us see into that world where we're like, we can find a balance, where things make a lot of sense. Like my lights are all electronic, most of them, not all of them. I use a lot of switches, but I like that. But if I ever need to turn them on, like with my hands, they still work. You know what I mean? Like we're not so far gone. And I feel like that's how we need to come to a balance, like with technology, of like, yes, I can use my phone to turn on my lights and dim them, and it's really nice, but I also can just go right up to the little knob on the light and turn it, and it still happens. So how can we find that balance that's being asked of like what we want and need? And I feel like when Saturn finally moves into Taurus in like 2.5 years, we're going to see a little bit more of that grounded, earthy, reliable foundations return to our day-to-day lives in the midst of a technological landscape that we can't even fathom right now.
That will be so nice. And that makes me think about like in October, just like 2 months ago, I felt like I needed to get away from technology. So I spent a weekend like in a cabin with no Wi-Fi, just a wood stove. And the person who was running the place had to show me how to use a gas lantern. Like I've never used one before. I was like, how do you use this?
The fact that you
And
could
it
go
was
camping without electricity just always impresses me too.
Thank you. It was so cool, Nicole, like lighting this gas lantern. And actually, I couldn't get the glass thing on very much, and I almost burnt myself. But like,
Oh,
I spent like the whole evening just playing with that stuff, and it was really fun. So maybe that's the purpose, to like have us like kind of have fun doing the things that aren't, high tech and digital. again.
Yeah, exactly. But I also want to call out like a good thing too about like Uranus and Taurus before it moved into Gemini was that like we saw this revolution for farmers. Taurus,
Yes.
so connected to the agriculture, to the way we grow food, to all these things. And we even see it now with like these final degrees of like, something that was pretty controversial like earlier this year when we were moving back into that final degree of Taurus, 29 degrees, was that the government shutdown was affecting SNAP funding, which is food assistance programs. And that is the ultimate show of Uranus shaking things up, causing issues, and Taurus, security, food, all these things like happening at the same
Mm.
time. And we saw that effect at that 29th final degree. So when we have 0 degrees, which we're experiencing with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, we're experiencing like this brand new creator degree. It is like it makes me I keep seeing that picture. What's that like Michelangelo or so, I don't know, one of those like pictures they touch like the angels touches the man and then like it's like
Yes.
creation. Like I just keep seeing that picture where their two hands are like coming together and I'm like that's like that moment that like or like the Big Bang or whatever, people say maybe happened in the universe. Like that's what's that moment feels like 0 degrees. 29 degrees feels like closing it down. Like not even like boarding up a window because like that seems sad or like the final like breath of something, but it is like the legacy breath. It's the final mic drop moment. It is the end of this evolution of this time. It is like really karmically closing all ties. It's the end. It's like a big deal. And so we have this 29th degree like showing the finality of like what was brought up. But we also saw a lot of farmers like fighting for rights and like fighting for better financing and like all these things had come in and not to get political but like farmers have been struggling for a long time and they've been
Yeah.
forced to grow certain crops at least in the United States that were just not really as profitable but it was the only way to keep these farms going. These people are growing our food and they're finally fighting back. Like it's some big energy and Uranus is like shaking that up. So when we see that move into Gemini, it's not going to be just like unbridled tech communication changing. I think we're actually going to see big shakeups with like the way the news system works and with how we accept information. And one of my favorite astrologers, Pam Gregory, has said that like things will flatten out. Like instead of being like hierarchy, like we're going to see a flattening. And I really like
Mm.
that because it's like Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius is like power to the people. Power to the people, but like don't start a cult. Like Aquarian people are like, don't follow me too closely. Like it's not like cult leader status. I will say something. I am not a mundane astrologer, meaning like I don't track every single transit every single day. I use it more for personal transformation for me and my clients, helping them understand their careers and business and how they show up in their own patterns. But I know that a few astrologers are a little bit worried about Neptune in Aries and some of the things that could come from that from a religious standpoint. And so it's something the triggers haven't all been activated yet to know exactly where that's going to head. But it's something to keep in mind. So Pisces, Neptune and Pisces, which is what we're exiting now for 13 years, created the mystic, created the spiritual entrepreneurs, if you will. I mean, you and I are some of them, but we're not delusional.
Yep.
We're not. We haven't done ayahuasca 1,000 times in the jungle. Not to say that that's bad. It's just saying sometimes we thought we were sold this idea of like in order to be spiritual or in order to be intuitive, in order to be this, you had to look, be, act, or do certain things. And I think that is suddenly falling now. We're not seeing that trend as being the way anymore. Or these people that were able to show up that way were super successful for a time. And now they're starting to realize like, oh, yeah, I could go live in the jungle and like live my best life, but like also like I need to be in this three-dimensional earth still. And so, we could see, I know, Neptune and Pisces was like a rise of a lot of like spiritual movements. And so hopefully we're not going to see like a bad side of that where it's like the downfall of a lot of spiritual community or worse, like the rise of organized religion, but not in a good way. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
hate to say it, like in a way that's more controlling or not for the good of all people. It's more, in a fog or delusional. Like this is going to be the way.
Well, I hate to say it, Nicole, but I think there may be a good chance that it will go that way for religion because so many signs are of the outer planets are in either, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, air or fire, which is not very grounding. And when
Mm-hmm.
people who still feel like they need to control their lives and are contracted, they I think, like to follow something like a religion that has rules. And they know
Mm-hmm.
if I do A plus B I will equal C, I'll go to heaven. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
just going to follow what this person says. But on the flip side of that, there could be so many people just being free to stepping into their like total authenticity, letting go of any maybe religious or spiritual constraints that they've put on themselves while Neptune was in Pisces. So I guess we'll see.
Exactly. It could go either way. It really can. And there's a bunch of triggers like different planets or days or things that we'll see and be able to predict more of. But like I said, I don't track all of those specifically, but I've seen the trend toward a little bit more of the let me just blindly like give away like my autonomy and my power to these faiths so that I can feel better in the day to day. And there's no guarantee. And Neptune is asking you to hold that faith. And so, that may be short sighted on my part to say, like, you're just giving away your power in that way. And I'm not dissing anybody who feels very strongly about organized faith or religion. I'm talking about the organized faith and religion that is taking your autonomy, your power, your money, your choices away from you, and that is not what we want to further. You can see how that's worked out plenty of times
Yes.
since the beginning of time, and it doesn't work out well. And the same thing could happen with government too. You know what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
we're looking more at a religious aspect at the current minute because we're watching the fall of the Capricornian structures that we've lived in for so long. And it's a really interesting time to be simultaneously living in the crumbling and the rebuild. And we as
Yeah.
people have to keep the faith, literally keep the Neptunian faith alive, that like it can actually be way better. And when we hold on to that, like that's where the power starts to rise for the people.
Yeah. And I feel like we've definitely been seeing a preview of that just with media, with like the power going to the people, Pluto in Aquarius, of like, you can tune into whatever alternative media you want now. You don't have to watch it on TV. You can pull up your YouTube or whatever and watch any type of person that's putting information out there and kind of, source from anywhere, which is really cool. So let me ask you this, like, let's zero in on 2026. Not that I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to control how this is all going to go, but um, from January until February 20th, to me, it's kind of like, okay, we're still in 2025 vibes, really. We're kind of like still ending the year. Then February
Yes.
20th, we're going to have that great conjunction of Neptune and Saturn at 0 degrees of Aries. But interestingly, Uranus will still be at 29 degrees of Taurus until April 25th. So
Mm-hmm.
are there any like aspects that happen where Taurus or Uranus is still shaking things up in Taurus while Saturn and Neptune are at Aries?
A
Is
little
that a
bit like
thing?
there are some out of sign sextiles, that may happen. So like we're experiencing that. And so it's not necessarily, since it is a sextile, which is a 60-degree angle, that's like a harmonious aspect. It's actually good. So it's like maybe that 29th degree that we experience with maybe like removing the food stamp funding or having different security foundations questioned like at different points. It'll be like saying, hey, we can't do that anymore. Like this can't be, like we can never experience what we experience again, so people will make a change, right? It'll be kind of like that,
Mm,
like closing up shop, tying up loose ends, like dotting your i's, crossing your t's. It's like paying all your bills before the end of the year type of feeling, like, whoa, I'm done, like it's good, feeling like you're going into the next year like on a clean slate. That's kind of the end. But Uranus is shock and shakeups and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not an expert in like earthly astrology, if that makes sense, but like Uranus and Taurus has also been known for like seismic activity, like with the earth, because Taurus is such a grounded earth sign, and Uranus is shaking things up. It can also impact things. I know too, like, that final degree is unpredictable. We don't know what business Uranus and Taurus has to finish up. So we will see some activity with out of sign conjunctions within like that degree, but it's nothing like of note compared to what we're going to get to,
okay.
compared to like that immediate, like, oh my gosh, all these things are coming together and funneling all of this energy into each other. So it is true. You're good. Very good observation.
I was just curious. So, okay, so great. So we've got February 20th. That's going to be huge. Then we move and kind of wait for April 25th. I'm so excited for Uranus to go back to 0 degrees of Gemini because that's conjuncting my natal sun. And
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
like in my 10th house. And I'm just like, please.
How were
Oh,
you feeling in July of last year of 2025?
well, Nicole, I sometimes wonder because I follow astrology transits so closely that I like mess it up somehow because I'm like creating my own future by assuming what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Uranus is like, can't do that.
I know. So 2025, I'm sorry. For me, it's been a shit show. I've been all over the place. I have felt like two completely different people, trying to step out of my old identity, trying to step into something new with entrepreneurship, going through somatic experiencing, recovering from a lot of nervous system dysregulation with the divorce that I went through. I moved 2 times in 2 years, like getting used to my house. Like everything has just been changing and shedding. And this year, I had a bad mindset almost like the whole year, it feels like.
Mhm.
But when Uranus went into Gemini in July, it did feel like I don't care anymore energy. I want to say like I don't give an F kind of energy of like what people think of me. I'm just going to do what I absolutely love doing because at this point I just don't feel like I can live any other way. Like I have just never been somebody who can just follow the status quo and like do work that I'm not passionate about or like my sacral motor in human design is just too strong. Like whenever I'm doing something and it's not lit up around that anymore, I somehow just like stop. You know what I mean? I just move to the next thing. I pivot like a classic manifesting generator. So I'm curious to see if like I'll continue heading in this direction I'm heading to, which is more full-time human design offerings and intuitive readings for people, or if there's going to be like a brand new pivot, that it might bring as well. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that like that's a really interesting reflection to think about. Like, okay, 2025 was hard. Like you were in a rebuild year, like most of the world, I think, was in that rebuild year and having that time. And we said when we were preparing for this, I said, if 2025 was like a rock in your shoe, 2026 is the year you stop walking and you take the shoe off and you shake the rock out. You're like, no, I will no longer tolerate this rock in my shoe. Like I'm going to figure it out. And I feel like these planets are asking that devotion of us in a way to say like, enough is enough. And if you're of the mindset or of the ability to make a change, this is the time to make a change, to get on
Hmm.
board for what's coming, because like what's coming is this evolution, being born under this Saturn Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. And then now knowing it's in another cardinal sign, so it's going to square, my aspects eventually. It's not a bad thing. It just puts a little bit of pressure on it. But, I can feel this in my bones. Like, I am so excited for this time because I feel like finally I can see what could be. But I also
Yes.
see the issues underneath of it all. You know what I mean? It's kind
Mm.
of like I've never been able to be like kumbaya, like everything's going to be great. Like, there's some people who can be like that and you can always see the higher road. And I'm so happy for those people because they keep you aligned to some positivity. Sometimes it may be a little bit too much, but other times you really do need someone to say, like, hey, look over here at the light, it's going to be okay. And it's like I can do that. And then I can also say, but here's all the things that need to be fixed. And so I feel like if you're experiencing that same collective moment and you're experiencing it in your ninth house, like you're finally saying, okay, enough is enough. Because what, Pisces was in your eighth house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So okay. Yeah. I'll just be honest, in my solar return this year, I have the conjunction in the eighth house. And you know what the eighth house is telling me that like at that moment in time? It was saying, please, please, please set down what's not yours to carry anymore.
Oh,
It's the year of letting go of everyone else's crap and saying, okay, you know what? This is actually, holy moly, I've been carrying all this stuff. It's not even mine. Whose is this? Whose is that? It's almost like cleaning out a storage unit you've had and you're like, why am I paying for this? That's what happened. But it was happening in the most like tender parts of your life. And so it was kind of like, whew. So like, I think you're going to feel a lot lighter when you move into this, moment into Aries and feel that happen again once, the preview already happened. But yeah, I think that for a lot of people like that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't continue on like this anymore is truly so
yes.
potent right now. And I hear it all the time, like especially this past November. Scorpio season was a doozy. We had so many planets in Scorpio. This is the life I live all the time, guys. Like this is how I feel at all times. The shadow work, the things that were coming out of the woodwork, like the feelings, the emotions, everyone was like, what the hell? And I'm like, it's not that bad. And I was like,
Just another day in the life of Nicole.
just another day in the life of a Scorpio. Like, it's fine. But I can see how that would have been like rocking a lot of people to their core. And so, like, we can expect some lighter energy for sure this year, but it's like unpredictably, like, setting the foundation. So, if there's ever a time, like, we need to pay attention to how we feel, what we're thinking, what we're literally manifesting, it is January, February 2026. Be in that
Okay.
energy, be in that mindset, and set the tone for the year. Set it strong. Don't force yourself to do a bunch of things you don't want to do, but also do not sit in the darkness of self-pity or wallowing in your, oh my God, woe is me, that kind of thing. Like that's like snap out of it. Like if you can snap out of it at any time, it's this time. And then we're going to experience some big stuff this year when it comes to Pluto. So Pluto in Aquarius, right, is going to be aspecting, is going to be trining these planets in Aries in a way that's going to, is that right? Hold on. Let me mark that clip.
I think you're right. Or at least that's what you told me earlier today.
Yeah, I did. And I was like, wait, let me just check my notes because you don't want to say it's going to trine something it's not. No, it's going to sextile. So we're going to have Uranus trining Pluto. And then we're going to have Neptune sextiling Pluto. And that's going to happen like in July. We're going to experience this. So we're going to have this like funneling of energy between like mid to late July, where it's just going to be like, oh my gosh, like all the energy that we were talking about with these great aspects, the harmonious aspects are going to be really tight. And so it's going to happen then. We're going to experience a lot of outer planet aspects in 2026, like happening in March, mostly in July, but then again in September and November. So we're going to experience this quite a few times where we're having different aspects, like almost exactly sextile, 60 or 120 degrees trine at that point. So we can look forward to a lot of flow of energy. And it's funny because when I did 2025 astrology, I had a list, like I could like open the scroll and it would like go down the hallway. And I'm like, and then, but this year, fortunately, like we're experiencing these more transitory aspects, but they're slow moving, they're bigger, they're deeper. This is like if you were trying to excavate and you hit a rock and you kept digging, you're like, wow, this rock's really, really big. Like you're finally gonna find the edge of that rock. This year, I feel like to like really live into the transit, where some people might just dig, I hit a rock and then they set the shovel down and they leave. They might not feel it as much, but if you're devoted to this evolution, if you will, you're gonna want to keep digging and you're gonna get finally to the edge of this rock.
I love that. So January to February is really like still like prep yourself, take the rock out of your shoe, to cut the crap, whatever you need to be honest with yourself about. Like just do it because Saturn in Aries is going to do it anyway. So you might as well like prepare yourself for that.
Yes.
And then we've got these transits that are happening. When does Jupiter move into Leo?
That will happen. Let me find the exact date. I wrote it down, but it's in late June, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, late June, which is great because that moves signs every like 12 to 13 months. And so, Jupiter in Cancer has been beautiful energy, but Jupiter in Leo is just a totally different feeling. And so we're going to experience that June 29th to the 30th, depending on your time zone. That is when it will happen. And then right after that, like like a month later, we experience a big aspect where we're going to have Jupiter opposite Pluto. So in Aquarius. So Jupiter will be in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And that's not an aspect that happens all the time, So this is like expanding how bold we are, feeling like on the spot. Like where like Jupiter and Cancer might have been more homey. Like, how can I expand my home? Where's my family of origin? Like, how do I feel? What is home to me? Bringing that like aspect together. That's my Jupiter, where my natal Jupiter is yours as well, right?
Yep.
Yep. And so it can have, depending on what house it's in, it can really rocket mine's in my 8th house. I think you said yours is in the 12th house. So it's like, I literally
read an entire fantasy fiction like series right when it was conjuncting my natal Jupiter in my 12th house. Like I felt like I went totally to fantasy land.
And that can be what maybe your Jupiter needed at that point. That expansion was of your fantasy world, but I experienced literally an expansion of home. I had a baby. So that was really cool. Like to see that happen. That was
wild.
Yeah. And it was right as Jupiter entered Cancer again, that she was born a few days later. And so I was like, oh my gosh, having Jupiter in Cancer, I wanted that for her too.
I remember us geeking out about that.
I know. I felt like we were God, for a bit there, trying to be like, what day could it be? And she said, all the dates you picked were wrong. And it was this day. So good for her. But we can see that this opposition that we're going to experience with Pluto and Jupiter might like reveal some stuff around like leadership issues, celebrity culture, things like that. I mean, we've been seeing the fall of celebrity culture for a while. So if that's new to you, if you're still like idolizing people, even influencers on the internet or celebrities or whatever, this may feel a little bit like lackluster for you. You might feel like, oh gosh, that's annoying. But Jupiter's starting its whole new, life in Leo for a year, and that'll be impacting whatever house you have that in your chart. So check that out and see like where's Leo live for you. And it's really fun. But it's kind of like another thing that opposition may bring up for people is like the pressure of like how you want to express and be seen, because Leo does rule naturally the fifth house of expression, creativity, all of this creation energy. And it may be saying like, where have you been forcing yourself to conform to the
Mm.
systems? You know, like I think of like people getting on Instagram and they're like, hey y'all, I just want to hop on here, and you know, like that conforming that we naturally do to like blend in or be part of it, because we don't want to be the tall poppy, we don't want to get cut off, you know.
Yeah.
It's going to kind of bring to light a little bit of that in July, and we're going to feel that. And Jupiter moves way faster than Pluto, so it will only be like a day or so, a couple days on either
That's
side.
so
We'll
cool. So
feel
it'll
that.
kind of be like, it'll kind of show us like, okay, who even agreed to how we act on Instagram? Like, who agreed that we all have to do silly reels in order to get like a bunch of shares and
Right,
likes?
exactly. It might just bring about like a new way of, you know, showing up and creative and expressing. And that doesn't necessarily mean just on Instagram, but I mean, heck, if you've got Leo in the 11th house, like that could be exactly how you're feeling that social media wise. You might be like starting a new trend, everything's gonna be upside down. You never know.
I love that. I'm so excited for Jupiter in Leo because personally I'm a Leo rising, and so I'm just excited to see how that shows up. But also, aren't the nodes moving into Leo and Aquarius as well?
They are. And so what we've got going on with the nodes moving is like we'll get the preview. I think it's in February. I'm just scrolling to my dates exactly so I can give you
Do we
the
still have
hot.
one more nodal, whatever it's called, what a solar? Do we still have one more? So what is it called?
We
Oh,
do.
eclipse.
We have the annual solar eclipse in February, and we will have that at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So that'll be
Oh,
the
so are we
first.
done with Pisces and Virgo?
No, we still have
Ugh.
two more lunar eclipses, Pisces and Virgo. I know it's so confusing with the nodes, because the nodes are just like these points and they're just like weeble wobble back and forth until like they decide they're finally in a new sign. So we're kind of in the overlap year. So it's an 18-month cycle. And those
Oh,
last 6 months always overlap between the two because they go back and forth.
okay.
So we're going to see the solar eclipse on February 17th in Aquarius. So it's bringing us the preview of the new nodal shifts. And then back in March, we'll go back into Virgo. When we're in Pisces for the lunar eclipse, they always come in pairs. And then when we get to August, the solar eclipse will be in Leo. So we're having these first solar eclipses on the Aquarius Leo axis, and the lunar eclipses are finalizing themselves on the Virgo Pisces axis. So it's going to be a
Okay.
year of both and you know, I
One
know
more
it's
year to finish the second eighth house curriculum that I'm dealing with. It's not very fun. So
yeah, I know.
hopefully
If
it gets
there's a
better.
year that you're experiencing 8th or 12th house transits, like those are the years that will bring you to your knees. And those are the years that you will likely find astrology, subconscious work, somatic work, all the things, because you're like, what the heck is going on? So if that's you and you're feeling, what the heck is going on? You may be experiencing transits like this, or maybe perhaps you know you are. And it's exactly what you've done. You know what I mean? You said, oh, I need to go out and be in nature. I need to be in the woods. I need to come back to my center. I need to figure this out, because if not, the lessons are just going to keep creeping up in different outfits, in different places. You're going to be in a different town. It's going
Totally.
to be like, hey, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why? So those are the most powerful years of your life that you can, you know, do this. And now you're going to see expansion go over your ascendant, you know, in the next year.
Yes.
So this is good. This is setting you up to hold that expansion. That's what I always say. Jupiter's
Mm.
expansion can only take you so far if you don't have the capacity to hold what it's bringing. You know, that's where Saturn comes in. What systems do you have? What devotion do you have? Like people always say, like, I'm going to go viral, right? And it's like, well, if you went viral, like, where the hell would the people go? Do you even have anywhere for them to go? Or are you just going to be viral with like 100,000 new followers for a silly video you did that has absolutely nothing to do with your business or what you're doing? It's like, like I dread that. Like, I don't want to go viral, because right now they'd be like, okay, so she had a baby. Yeah, I just, so
Right? I'd be
whatever.
like, oh my God, I don't have my workflow in Flowdesk done yet. Like, this is
Exactly. Yeah, it's like one of those times where you're like, oh my gosh. So like that's kind of like what we're experiencing when you think of getting this devotion of Saturn and Aries, is like, this is the beginning, this is setting it up. And I think Saturn specifically, like I'm excited for 2026 astrology. Like we also do have, I will say, we have a Venus retrograde, which happens like every 18 or so months. So it's nothing like uncommon. It's not unusual. Like, you know, Mars and Venus retrograde, like almost like once every other year type of feeling. We have, of course, have Mercury retrograde this year, all in the water signs, my friends. Be ready for some emotional communication. I think that's always so fun. When you think of that, you're like, oh God, everyone's gonna be crying in those weeks, and it's gonna be interesting. But we have these big moments astrologically happening. Like 2025 is a year we'll never see again. Ever. I mean, literally, quite
Mm,
literally, but we'll never have this time. And I like to think that us, whoever's watching this right now, whoever decided to incarnate on Earth at this time, knew exactly what we were signing up for. Hell, I signed up for the package where I said, I want to experience that exact conjunction. So did my husband, so did my daughter, like we're having these conjunctions in our chart for that reason. It's really a big deal. And then to live it out again. I mean, like, I just want to say, like, the last time we had Saturn and Neptune conjunct exact was in 1989. It was the fall of the Eastern Bloc. It was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Big freaking
wow.
deals, like big deals. Leaders rose to power that were different. We started a whole new revolution. Like, this is a big thing. And, we may not see major regimes fall this time, depending on where it is, in Aries, or we could see some unrest, or it just depends. But like, for the people who are not experiencing that directly, like, and I mean, like, in the United States, like, we're not experiencing like turmoil in the way that other parts of the world have experienced it. This is our time to hold the power, hold the positivity, hold the light of what could be with Pluto and Aquarius for the next, 20-ish years. Big time. We have to hold the power of the rebuild. Like, we have seen the fall, and we're seeing the fall. It's like happening as we go.
Yeah.
Everything's showing its cracks and crumbles. It's kind of like, you see someone's old car in the garage and you go to start it up and it's like dust flying everywhere. You're like, no, it has to be towed away, that kind of thing. That's what's happening in 2026. It's like, okay, we're going to clean up now. We're going to start to build what could be. And it really is our duty as the people who maybe do have the ability to hold that light and that foundation to do it and to be the better people, that we need to build this future.
That really, I mean, I feel a little emotional about that because I feel like we did sign up for that. You're an 89 baby. I'm a 90 baby. So of
Mm-hmm.
course I had Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus and Capricorn as well. And I feel like now we're in our mid 30s and it's like, yeah, I actually do want to spend the next 20 years rebuilding a better world for my daughter who's growing up, like
Right.
that's so exciting.
Why did so many of us wait until our 30s to have kids? Maybe it's because we needed like this time to feel the spark. I said to my husband, like,
Wow.
if at the moment when we decided like we wanted to really have kids, or like right after we got married, if we just had a child and she was 6 already, we would be totally different people. Like, we would be totally different, like feeding the corporate America machine, completely in a different fractal, really. We would be in a
Yeah.
completely different fractal. And I feel like this timing happens for a reason. Sometimes that timing can be so painful. Like, I'm thinking of a year, like a couple years like you've had, where that timing is like, what the heck? Like, why all at once? Like, why do I have to have this list of things that I'm dealing with, or that I'm choosing to move through at the same time? Like, it's, because everything
Hmm.
is really a choice. Like, you chose to work on that emotional foundation, right? You chose to move, you chose to do these things, but it was all for a purpose. And maybe you don't know exactly what that outcome of that purpose is yet, but it's important that we do it. And I wonder if, like, things had happened sooner, or we had done things differently, like, what would that be asking of us? Like, I think this is the time now. Like you said, we want to leave the world a better place for our children. And not only that, but they're going to be the ones building it too. We're starting the spark,
Yes.
like, we're igniting the flame for them. We're helping shepherd these young souls, many of us, or, even just being a part of a child's life or anyone's life who's being, growing up in this new world, and saying, hey, how can we make it better? And how can we help guide you in a way that we've never experienced? Because, not for nothing, our parents tried, but they were raised with, I don't know, their parents went through the Great Depression. They went through wars. They went through things. Our parents were raised by those people. And then our parents did the best that they could, that they could. And now we're just like we're not even that far out from a generation that wasn't allowed to show emotion, that didn't know
Yeah.
anything. And like, this is the time, like, we are new, we're new in a different way, but we're also being born again too. That's what I kind of think
Yes.
of. And I think that that's like 0 degrees Aries, world axis. Like, this is world change. Everyone will feel
Wow.
something different. And it's
That
soon.
is
It's
so
so
exciting.
soon.
It's so soon. Yay. So what should our mantra be for next year? Like, how do we stay grounded in it all? How do I not just follow the transits and actually just live my life? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, this is a good point. So I do want to mention, you had mentioned this earlier, all the major planets are in fire or air. Okay. What happens when fire meets air? Like it can explode, right? And so we do need to find a way to stay in touch with our earth and our water. And those are going to happen through unique transits throughout the year. Like we're going to experience different earth and water elements at different times. But I think like our mantra of 2026 should be like, it's probably like, what's that? F around, find out. I don't know if that's a good mantra for everyone, but I feel like it is really like FAFO. Like, you know, you're gonna, if you show up and you find out, like I always think of like what makes the most successful people? They keep showing up.
Yes.
And so when I think of 2026, it's just asking you to like not shrink. It's asking you to not be small. It's asking you to just keep showing up, whatever that looks like for you. And if it's showing up for yourself, great. If it's showing up for other people, awesome. If it's showing up for the larger community, amazing. If it's showing up for the earth, the environment, even better. Like all these great things could happen. So I think like we really do just have to keep showing up and start with yourself, start with the immediate people around you, start with the people that matter most, and then it continues to ripple effect out into the world. But with this fire and air heavy astrological year that we're experiencing, careful, things can be explosive. You know what I mean? Like that's important to note. And how do we ground? How do we get into nature? How do we have reverence for the food that we're eating? How do we connect seasonally with ourselves? How do we bring in emotion? How do we feel in the depths of our subconscious? How do we work with the emotional tides of our lives? Like these are all important things that we have to keep in mind in a fire air dominant year.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I just want to acknowledge everyone who's watching, listening, that I mean, it every year since like 2020 has been a wild astrological year. And so if you've been doing the work, if you've been stepping into self-discovery, if you've been learning how to be less reactionary and more feeling your emotions, doing the type of ancestral healing that our parents' generation didn't have the time or wherewithal or like the ability or resources to do. Like I just, when you said show up, I just feel like I wanted to name that, like, I think a lot of you out there are tired. A lot of you out there are burnt out because you have been showing up for the past 5 years. And this has been our curriculum. This has been our lesson. This has been practice. And the last step is to show up the last 5%. And that might be the hardest next year. There may be some really hard, explosive times with this energy to show up, but like that's what we need to do, and then we get to step into the new paradigm of 2027 and beyond. I mean, it's already started, it's going to continue.
Yeah.
But that's really exciting.
I can't wait to see all of your stuff on 2027 because people ask me about it all the time and I've tuned into it but maybe similarly to you with the AI and the tech fear of like, what's that going to mean for us? Me in 2027, I'm like, what do you mean? Non-emotional human design being going, what do you mean? Like, I just don't know what that's going to look like. So I'm excited to see what you have to say about 2027 and, you know, the new paradigm that we're shifting into. It's like, this is setting the stage for that. I mean,
Yeah,
astrologically, human design is all connected to the astrology, to the cosmos and all of these things, but it's like unlocking a new layer that we didn't always have access to. And why didn't we have access to it? Probably because we weren't meant to know until now, you know?
exactly. And that's what I'm learning a lot more about it right now. So yeah, Nicole, I'm so excited to share more. But what's interesting is, think about this. It was the late 1700s that we had our last mutation, which was the heart chakra going to the G center and the will center in human design. And so the will center, like, that was our lesson from the late 1700s for us to figure out what that mutation meant and how to work with the material world and build these structures and like do all the things. And it's like we're just graduating from that. And now we're going to have a brand new mutation in the emotional solar plexus area in 2027. And the seed has already been planted. It's already been happening. We are all feeling that. We are going to be much more in tune energetically with each other. We're not going to have to use our words as much because we're going to have that, you know, some of you are already so intuitive, whether you feel like an empath or telepathic or whatever that is, that's going to be happening more. But what I find so interesting is, like you said, we don't know. Even some of the greatest teachers right now who are teaching about this mutation are saying, hey, I'm going to take off the next couple years because I want to like really be present for what's going to happen, because we also have to get used to that mutation. So in our lifetime, I believe at least, we're always going to be these people who are one foot in the old paradigm and one foot in the new, getting used to it, learning it so that we can parent our kids better for it. And then our kids generation is really going to be the freshies, and then their kids are going to be even the like brand new humans. And it's so cool and exciting.
It is so cool. And it actually makes me think of this like, okay, well, we're always going to be straddling, right? The paradigm. And to be able to show up, and we were talking about this right at the start where we were like, well, how do we stay relevant? How do we continue to be in what the changing tides are of this life? And it is just staying open-minded and being available to learn. You know, there will be a time where the world we live in looks nothing like the world we know or that we knew before. Whereas we might see that in previous generations where the world did look similar, but a little different, but not completely different. But by the time we're old and we're getting ready to say goodbye to this human form, the world will look nothing like it did when we were born. And that's incredible, but also extremely jarring. And we have to remain open and relevant in that time if we choose to be, to relate to that next generation of brand new people. Because heck, we could come back as one of them. we don't want to be unprepared, right? I mean, like that's just even one thing. But yeah, it's just the way you presented that just made me feel so excited about, you know, this new paradigm. The whole shift, everything is just different, and it's going to continue to change. And for those of you watching, of course, Dayna, you're in it, you know, you want to stay relevant, you want to stay afloat, and you want to bring this new paradigm in with the rest of us.
Yeah. And we want to release fear around it. I think we've been so equipped with the tools. That's why so many of us are going through this, and being interested in things like human design and astrology and different modalities that are help, subconscious work, like all the things. Those are all the tools for our tool belts to keep going into this new paradigm. Oh, this has been so lovely. I feel like I've really gotten a true preview to the astrological transits for 2026, especially the big ones with the outer planets. Is there any last points that you feel like we've forgotten?
No, I mean, we're going to see Chiron move into Taurus. Thank God. I'm so sick of Chiron being in Aries. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's been sitting on my moon for like ever and a day.
It's been sitting on my Mars. It's been
I
so
know.
annoying.
It's so annoying. So we're like, okay, Chiron, move on. Like, see you later. So yeah, that's going to happen too in 2026. I forget the exact date at the moment, but I was excited to see that personally. But yeah, I mean, we're going to experience, of course, a lot of new and full moons, as we always do. We're going to experience eclipses. We're going to experience Mercury retrograde, all of the normal astrological transits that come as the cyclical nature of the world. But I think with the power of what we're experiencing in the outer planets, this is just really a great year to keep showing up. Don't give in. Don't throw in the towel. Like Dayna said, this is the time to keep adapting and keep showing up. And if you can be the positivity in the world, do it, because we need that. We need to anchor that in as we continue to move toward a brand new dawn. Like literally never, ever has anyone we've ever known lived through this. So
So exciting. I'm so here for it. Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing all your wisdom with us today. And how can people find you? What are you working on in the new year? Let us know.
yeah, so I'm really excited to continue to help women and high achievers unlock their own patterns, break those patterns that they've been following for decades, or maybe their entire life, or maybe they're ancestral, so that they can live the lives that they've always wanted, whether they're in career or business. You can find me on Instagram at NicoleDoyle.co. And I'm sure you'll link that in the show notes. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to bring forward Seasons of Self. My proprietary method is deepening. I'm the creator of Disrupt the Pattern. I'm helping women step the heck up into their highest self, into their best life and their best timeline. And I'm giving you all the details of how to do it with your astrology and working with your own subconscious. So cannot wait for what 2026 has to bring. Maybe it'll bring me a new baby again.
Yes, I would
It's just
love
crazy.
that.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying that. But I'm like, yeah, 2025 bought me one baby. Maybe 2026 will bring me another. And, just continuing to expand. So I'm very excited. And thank you again for having me on the show. I love talking about what's coming for the next year, especially this big Saturn Neptune conjunction. It's a great time, everybody. And it's a great time to acquaint yourself with human design, astrology, any of the systems that you feel good. Don't give your power away to them, though. Let them guide you, let them help you understand the weather, and you be the power. You are the one holding the authority. And I know Dayna feels the exact same way. So
Yes. Definitely. I love that. Okay. Let's have a conversation again after February 20th to see where we're at. That would be so fun.
Oh yes. In March we'll be like, okay, what happened? Let's take notes and compare notes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, guys. Take care. Good luck with 2026. It's been such a wonderful 2025 with you all. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe and like and share with your friends so they also know what they can expect for the astrological transits for 2026. All right, bye.